Let me start with a small question. When did you drink your first glass of water today? Before your coffee or after? Was it cold or was it room temperature? And here's the real one. Did you even think about it at all? For most of us, water is a thing we never plan. We drink it when we happen to remember. We drink it when we're already thirsty. And we assume, quite reasonably, that this is enough. Here's what I want to explore with you today. Slowly. The way you talk something over with an old friend at the kitchen table, the way you drink water across the day may play a quiet role in how steady your blood sugar stays. Not a magic role, not a miracle cure, but a real one. And it happens to be the kind of small everyday thing that almost never comes up in a doctor's visit simply because there isn't time. A visit is short, life is complicated, and water feels too ordinary to mention. But I want to be completely honest with you right from the start because you deserve that. I want to be clear about who I am and, just as importantly, who I am not. I am not your doctor. I can't see your chart. I don't know your medications. I don't know your history. And nothing I say today should ever replace the person who actually knows you and your health. What I can do, what I hope to do, is walk you through what the evidence suggests in plain, ordinary language so that you can carry good questions into the room with the person who does know you. That's the goal, not to replace your doctor, to help you talk to them better. So before we go one step further, I'd love to hear from you. What country are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. It genuinely helps me picture who I'm sitting here talking to. Now, let me tell you where we're headed today so you can decide it's worth your time. Three things. First, I want to explain why blood sugar quietly matters as we get older, even for people who feel perfectly fine, especially for people who feel perfectly fine. Second, I'll give you a simple, gentle way to think about water across your day. Not a rigid rule book, just a rhythm. And third, I'll walk you through a few very common habits that work against you without you ever noticing them. Stay with me all the way through because the part I care about most, the part about protecting more than just one number, I've saved for near the end. Let me introduce you to someone. I'll call her Dorothy. I want to be honest about Dorothy right away. Dorothy is not one real person. She is a composite, a character I've stitched together from patterns that are extremely common so that we have someone to picture while we talk. I'll do this a few times today, and every time I want you to understand these are illustrations, not real patients. That matters to me. So, Dorothy is 71. She lives in a modest house she's kept for 40 years. She walks most mornings, rain or shine. She watches her sweets carefully. She takes her medications on time, never missing a day. She does, in her own words, everything right. And still, the numbers at her clinic keep drifting the wrong way year after year, and she cannot understand why. She sits in the waiting room and she feels something close to despair. Like she's doing all the work and getting none of the reward. Hold on to Dorothy. We'll come back to her at the end, and I'll tell you the honest version of how her story might go. Not the fairy tale version, the real one. But first, we need some background. Because to understand why water even enters this conversation, you have to understand what we're actually talking about. There is a condition that affects a very large share of older adults, often quietly, often for years, before anyone notices a thing. It's type 2 diabetes, and its slow, early cousin, the stage before it fully arrives, called prediabetes. Now, please don't tense up at those words. I mean that. Understanding something is the very first step to not being afraid of it. Fear comes from the unknown, so let's make it known. In the plainest terms I can offer, here's what's happening. Your body runs on a fuel called glucose. That's the sugar in your blood. Normally, a hormone called insulin acts like a key. It unlocks your cells and lets the glucose move out of the bloodstream and into the cells, where it becomes energy. That's the system working well. In type 2 diabetes, that system gets less efficient over time. The key still turns, but the lock has grown stiff. So the glucose doesn't move into the cells the way it should. Instead, it lingers in the bloodstream, circling, building up. And here is the part that catches so many people off guard. At the beginning, you often feel absolutely nothing. Maybe a little extra thirst. Maybe you tire a bit faster climbing the stairs. Maybe a small cut on your finger takes a few extra days to heal. And every single one of those things is so easy to shrug off. It's the heat, it's my age, it's nothing. Meanwhile, quietly, without pain, without any alarm going off, that elevated sugar can slowly wear on the smallest blood vessels in the body, the ones in the eyes, the ones in the kidneys, the ones in the feet, the ones feeding the heart. I'm not telling you this to frighten you. Please hear that. I'm telling you because knowledge is what lets you act early, and acting early changes everything. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, both diabetes and prediabetes are common in older adults, common enough that this deserves everyone's attention, not only people who already carry a diagnosis. I'm not going to throw a precise sounding percentage at you and ask you to trust me because I'd rather you trust the source. So, in the description below, I'll point you to the CDC's statistics report. Go look, see the real numbers with your own eyes. I would honestly rather you check than take my word. Now, here is why I'm telling you all of this. And it's the opposite of doom. There are simple, inexpensive, everyday things that can support your body's efforts here. And hydration is one piece of that puzzle, one piece, not the whole picture. I'll never pretend a glass of water is the answer to everything, but it's a real piece. It costs almost nothing. And for most people, it carries very little risk. That combination is rare and worth paying attention to. Let me explain why water even belongs in a conversation about blood sugar. And I want to do this carefully because there's a lot of nonsense on the internet about it, and I don't want to add to the pile. Think of your blood like the water in a river that feeds a field. When the river runs full and steady, the water reaches every row, every furrow, every plant. Everything gets what it needs. But when the river runs low, the flow turns sluggish and thick, and less of it reaches where it's supposed to go. When you're low on fluids, your blood becomes a little more concentrated. And the research suggests, and I want you to notice that word, suggests, that being persistently underhydrated may be linked to somewhat higher blood sugar, partly through that concentration effect and partly because when your body senses it's short on water, it releases certain hormones that can nudge blood sugar upward. Now, I have to slow down and be very honest here because this is exactly the kind of place where health videos start lying to you. This link is real, but it is modest, and a lot of the research behind it is the kind that shows an association, a pattern that travels together rather than absolute proof that one causes the other. So I am not going to sit here and tell you that drinking water fixes your blood sugar. I would be lying, and you deserve better. What I will tell you is this: staying reasonably hydrated is a sensible, low risk habit that supports the rest of your body's work. It's a good foundation. It is not a treatment. That is the honest way to say it. And I'd rather be honest and useful than exciting and wrong. Now, here's a detail that matters more than almost anyone realizes. As we get older, the thirst signal itself becomes less reliable. This is well described in the medical literature on aging. It's not a rumor. As the years pass, several things change. Our total body water tends to decrease. Our kidneys handle water a little differently. And the part of the brain that's supposed to shout, hey, we need water, it gets quieter. It doesn't shout the way it did when we were 30. Let that sink in for a moment. What it means is simple and important. A great many older adults walk around mildly underhydrated all day long and never once feel thirsty. The alarm just doesn't ring the way it used to. So here is the lesson, and I want you to really hear it. The absence of thirst is not proof that you've had enough water. At our age, thirst is a delayed messenger. Sometimes it doesn't come at all. All right, enough of the problem. You didn't come here just to worry. You came for something you can actually do. So let me give you a simple way to think about your day. And I want to stress the word simple. This is not a strict protocol with a stopwatch. It's four gentle moments, four little anchors. You can use all four or you can use one. Even one is better than none. The first moment is the morning. Picture it. You wake up and your body has just gone 7 or 8 hours without a single sip of water all night long. It's a little dry. So, a glass of water when you wake before the coffee is simply a kind thing to do for a body that's been parched all night. Plain water is perfectly good here. You genuinely do not need to add anything fancy to it. And I want to pause on that because if you've been on the internet lately, you've probably seen people telling you to add a pinch of salt to your morning water. So let me be careful and clear. If you have high blood pressure, if you have any heart trouble, or if you have kidney issues, extra salt is not a small, harmless thing. For you, it could matter quite a lot. That is a decision for your doctor, not for a stranger in a video. For most people, plain water in the morning does a perfectly good job all on its own. The second moment is before a meal, a small glass of water, 15 minutes or so before you sit down to eat. And I want to give you the honest version of why this might help because it's gentler than the internet makes it sound. The real evidence based reason is fairly simple. A little water beforehand can help you eat a bit more slowly. It can help you feel a little fuller, and eating more slowly, feeling a little fuller, takes some of the pressure off the meal itself. The research here is mostly about appetite and pace. It is not about some dramatic transformation in your numbers. I've seen videos claim water before meals slashes your blood sugar spike by some precise, impressive percentage. I'm not going to repeat those numbers because I can't stand behind them. What I can say is this: it's easy, it costs nothing, and it does no harm. So why not? The third moment is when you're moving. And when I say moving, please, I don't mean the gym. I don't mean marathons, heaven forbid. I mean walking to the market, sweeping the porch, tending your garden, carrying the laundry, playing on the floor with a grandchild. All of that is movement, and all of it uses water. Here's the mistake most people make: they drink water only after they're done, only when they're already tired and worn out. But your body needs that water during the activity, not just at the finish line. So sip a little as you go, small sips. You don't have to gulp. And I'll mention cinnamon here because in a conversation like this, someone always asks about cinnamon. You may have heard that it helps blood sugar. So let me give you the truth plainly. The research on cinnamon for blood sugar is small and it's inconsistent. Some studies hint at a tiny effect, others find nothing. So please enjoy cinnamon as a flavor if you love it. It smells like the holidays and it's lovely in your food, but do not treat it as a medicine. It isn't one. The fourth moment is the evening, a glass of water a while before bed. That's the whole instruction, nothing more. And here again, I have to be straight with you because the internet won't be. If you've wondered about taking magnesium supplements at night, and this comes up constantly in these conversations, here's the honest answer. Magnesium does matter for the body's metabolism, and some people do run low on it. That much is true. But whether you personally should take a supplement and how much is a genuine medical question. It especially matters if you have any kidney concerns or if you take other medications, because magnesium can interact with things. So that one goes on your list to ask your doctor. It does not go into your nightstand tonight on my say so. So there they are, four moments: morning, before meals, while moving, and evening. Nothing expensive, nothing that asks you to go hungry, nothing that asks you to buy a single gadget, just water placed thoughtfully across the hours of an ordinary day. Now, let me answer the very fair question you're probably thinking. How much water in total? And here I'm going to ask you to do something. Please gently let go of the idea that everyone needs exactly 8 glasses a day. That old rule is a rough guide at best, and it was never meant to be a law of nature. Your needs depend on your size, on how much you move, on the weather where you live, and on your health. Your body does not need the same amount as your neighbor or your grandson or even a friend your same age. There are various rules of thumb floating around out there, but honestly, for most people, the simplest guide is the one your own body gives you. Keep a bottle somewhere, you'll actually see it. on the counter, by your chair, sip through the day, and glance at the color when you use the bathroom. A pale, straw like yellow usually means you're doing just fine. Very dark suggests you likely need more. And completely clear all day long can be a sign you're overdoing it. Which brings me to an important caution because more is not always better. And this is where I need you to listen closely. If you have kidney disease or if you have heart failure, drinking extra fluid without medical guidance can actually be harmful to you, genuinely harmful. In those situations, the right amount of water is not something I can give you. It's set by your doctor or your kidney specialist based on your body. So please, if that's you, bring the idea of a daily water rhythm to them. Let them tell you the amount that's safe for your specific situation. I mean this seriously, and I'd rather say it too many times than too few. All right. Now, let me talk about a few habits that quietly work against all the good you're trying to do. Because there's no point in gently watering the garden if we're also, without realizing it, letting something spoil it. The first habit is sugary drinks. And here I'm going to be direct because unlike hydration, the evidence on this one is strong, not modest. Regular sodas and sweet drinks deliver a large amount of sugar to your body very, very quickly, and they are clearly linked to higher blood sugar and to greater diabetes risk over time. This isn't a maybe, this one is well established. A cold soda feels refreshing on a hot afternoon. I understand the appeal completely, but it's working directly against the very thing you're trying to protect. One can carry a startling amount of sugar. Think of several spoonfuls all at once hitting your bloodstream. So if you want something with a little life and sparkle to it, here's a lovely alternative. Plain sparkling water with a squeeze of fresh lemon or lime. You get the bubbles, you get the brightness, you get that little celebration feeling, and you get zero added sugar. Once people try it, a lot of them never look back. The second habit is reaching for coffee first thing on a completely empty stomach before any water at all. Now, I am not, under any circumstances, going to ask you to give up your coffee. That would be cruel, and I'd never do it. That morning cup is one of life's small good things. But for some people, coffee on a totally empty stomach can nudge things a little in the wrong direction. So all I'm suggesting is a small reorder, water first. Then, a few minutes later, enjoy your coffee in peace. You're not giving anything up. You're just changing the order. Water, then coffee. And here I want to say something clearly because it's the beating heart of this whole conversation. None of these habits is a villain you should feel ashamed of. Not one. Nobody ever taught most of us how to think about hydration. It was never a class in school. Our parents didn't sit us down and explain it because nobody explained it to them either. So if you recognize yourself in any of this, please don't feel guilty. It isn't a personal failing. It's simply a gap in the information you were given. And the wonderful thing about a gap is that it can be filled starting today, this very morning. Now, I promised you we'd come back to Dorothy. So let me tell you the honest version of how her story might go. Not the miracle, the truth. If Dorothy started with this, here's the realistic picture. For the first week or two, she might not notice much of anything. And this is the exact moment where most people quit. They try a thing for a few days, they don't feel a lightning bolt, and they give up and decide it doesn't work. I understand that completely. We're all tired of being disappointed. But if Dorothy stuck with it past that discouraging stretch, the change probably wouldn't arrive as a dramatic number flashing on a machine. It would be quieter than that, smaller. She might notice a little more steady energy in the late morning instead of that familiar slump. She might notice slightly less of that heavy sink into the couch drowsiness after lunch. She might, on a good week, simply feel a bit more like herself again. And I want to be honest about expectations because I would always rather underpromise and let you be pleasantly surprised. Not everyone responds the same way. Some people notice a real difference. Some people don't feel much at all, even when the habit is still genuinely worth keeping for the sake of the rest of their body. What matters is this: It's a low cost, low risk habit that supports your body working quietly alongside everything your doctor's already doing for you. It is not a replacement for a single bit of that. Please hear me on that. Which brings me to something I need to say plainly, and I'm going to say it slowly. If you take medication for your blood sugar or for your blood pressure, do not change a single dose based on anything in this video. Not one dose, not up, not down. That is a conversation strictly between you and your doctor. And if you happen to take water pills, what we call diuretics, then your fluid needs are genuinely different from what I've described. So, that especially is one to raise with your doctor before changing how much you drink. Now, if this has been useful to you so far, could I ask one small favor? Just tap the like button. That's all. It helps this reach other people who might be walking around mildly dehydrated and tired, wondering why they feel the way they do, and never guessing that something this simple might be part of the picture. That's the only reason I ask. It costs you nothing. Now, before we come to the close, I want to gather a few of the questions people ask most because if one of them is rattling around your head, I promise you're not the only one. The first question, and it's the one I hear most: if I start drinking more water, won't my blood sugar drop too low and leave me dizzy? I understand the worry. Nobody wants a scare. But here's the reassuring reality: water's role here is to help things stay steady, not to send them crashing. Now, in the first few days, you might find yourself visiting the bathroom a bit more often than usual, and that's completely normal. It doesn't mean something's wrong. It often just means your body, which had been running a little dry in a quiet, ongoing way, is finally getting the water it needed and it's adjusting. If you'd like that adjustment to be gentler, ease up on the coffee a touch during those first few days. Things usually settle. The second question: can I use sparkling water instead of still? I just like it better. Yes, and I'm glad you asked. Naturally, sparkling water is perfectly fine. In fact, for some people, it's a real help because they find it easier to drink more of it without effort. The bubbles are just air, they don't affect your blood sugar at all. Only two things to watch. First, make sure it's truly plain with no added sugar and no sweeteners. Read the label, it should say water. That's it. And second, if it makes you feel bloated, simply mix it half and half with still water. Some people love filling a bottle with half sparkling, half still, a squeeze of lemon, and calling it a treat. And it is the third question, and it's a responsible one. I take pills for diabetes and for blood pressure. Won't all this interfere? First, let me say, good for you for asking. That's exactly the right instinct. The reassuring part is that a gentle water rhythm like this generally sits comfortably alongside standard medications, and better hydration often helps things feel steadier. But, and this is the part that matters most, never ever change your medication on your own. Not a single dose. That belongs to your doctor and no one else. And that specific point about diuretics I raised earlier applies here too. Your situation is a little different, so let your doctor set the amount for you. The last word always belongs to the person who knows your full history. The fourth question: in the heat of summer, do I need more? Yes, without a doubt. When it's hot or very humid, your body loses water through sweat even when you don't feel yourself sweating. The rule is simple: on hot days, drink a little more than usual, and above all, don't wait for thirst, because we've already learned thirst is an unreliable messenger at our age. Keep a bottle with you, especially when you're out of the house, and sip steadily. Heat waves are genuinely dangerous for people our age, and one of the simplest, cheapest defenses there is happens to be exactly this: water on time. And the fifth question, which someone might well be thinking right now: I'm in my late 70s and I have kidney trouble. Can I do this too? Here, I want you to be extra careful. And I say that with real affection. If your kidneys are delicate, the general idea of good hydration still stands, but the total amount of water has to be handled thoughtfully because too much could overload kidneys that are already working hard. In your case, the number of glasses is a decision for your kidney specialist, your nephrologist, and not for this video. So please take this idea to them, tell them about the 4 moments, and let them tell you the exact amount that's right for you. That's what taking care of yourself with wisdom actually looks like. Now, let me quietly take apart a few beliefs many of us have carried for years, because some of them, passed down with the very best intentions, aren't doing us any favors. And I say this without a shred of blame, because I understand where they came from. We learned many of these from our parents and grandparents, and they were wise people. But medicine has learned a great deal since then. The first belief: you should drink water during your meals to help digestion. How many times did we hear that at the family table? Here's the gentler truth: a little water while eating is fine, it won't hurt. But the real benefit for blood sugar comes from that glass beforehand, 15 minutes before you sit down. That's the one that prepares the ground. During the meal, small sips are plenty. You don't want to fill your stomach with water while you eat, because that can actually make digestion harder, which is the opposite of what we're after. The second belief: if I'm not thirsty, I don't need water. We've already taken this one apart, but I want to say it once more because it's the most important one to unlearn. At our age, thirst can quietly mislead us. It's like a night watchman who's dozed off at his post. Don't wait for him to wake up and sound the alarm. Get ahead of it. Drink by a gentle schedule, not only by sensation. The third belief: high blood sugar is only a problem for people who eat a lot of sweets. Not necessarily so. There are people who barely touch dessert and still have high blood sugar, and others who eat all sorts of things and stay steady. It's shaped by many factors: the years, family history, weight, how much you move, and, as we've discussed today, hydration among them. So please don't sit there blaming yourself over a slice of birthday cake from last month. This is far more complicated than that, and that's actually good news because it means there are many places to make things better. The fourth belief, and this one I want to push back on firmly: having high blood sugar at my age is just normal. It's simply what happens. No, that something is common does not make it normal, and it certainly doesn't make it inevitable. That many older adults have blood sugar trouble does not mean you must simply resign yourself to it. It means the opposite. It means there's a great deal of room to do things better. Age is not a sentence, age is experience, it's wisdom. And with a bit of care, it can also be health. Let me walk you through a whole ordinary day now, from morning to night, so you can see how easily all of this fits into a real life without turning it upside down. Imagine tomorrow you decide to try it, the alarm goes off. Before anything else, before you even switch on the radio, you go to the kitchen and you drink a glass of water slowly, plain water. It takes 1 minute. And while you drink it, your body is quietly waking up from the inside. Then, in your own time, you make your coffee and eat your breakfast, exactly as you always have. Nothing about your breakfast has changed. You've only put the water first. Through the mid morning, your bottle sits out where you can see it, and now and then you take a sip. No counting, no stress. If you head out to run errands or take a walk, you carry a little water and drink as you go. 15 minutes before lunch, back home, you have that small glass. Then you eat your usual meal, your soup, your fish, whatever you love. The difference is only that you might feel a touch less of that after lunch heaviness pulling you toward the couch. Through the afternoon, more of the same. The bottle in sight, calm little sips, and in the evening, a while before bed, a glass of water. You go to sleep, and while you rest, your body does its quiet work. Do you see? I haven't changed your life. I haven't taken a single dish you love off your plate. We've simply placed water at a few sensible moments across the day. That's all it is. And that repeated day after ordinary day is what actually creates change. Because here's something I want engraved in your memory: health is rarely built by grand, heroic gestures on a single day. It's built by small, kind acts repeated with patience, the very same way our generation built everything it ever built, a little at a time, with daily effort, without giving up. You already know how to do that. You've been doing it your whole life. The only difference now is that you're going to point that same steadiness at the most important thing of all: yourself. And let me say one more thing. from the heart for your entire life. You have taken care of other people, your children, your parents when they grew old, your spouse, your grandchildren, others first, always. Well, the time has come to take care of you. And not out of selfishness, just the opposite. Taking care of yourself is one of the most generous things you can do for the people who love you, because the healthiest version of you is the one who can keep being there, strong, present, the pillar the family leans on for many years yet. So let me offer you a small concrete challenge so this doesn't stay stuck in theory. 14 days. That's all I'll ask. For 2 weeks, make a quiet promise to yourself to try at least the easiest parts, the glass of water in the morning before your coffee and the small glass before your meals. If you feel like adding the other two moments, wonderful. But even those first two will start you off. Why 14 days and not longer? Because 2 weeks is often about the time it takes for the body to begin showing its first small, honest changes. And because 2 weeks is short enough that it doesn't feel overwhelming, anyone can manage 2 weeks. If it helps, jot down on a scrap of paper how you feel on day one, your energy, your sleep, and then look again on day 14. Compare. Let your own body be the one that convinces you, not my words, your experience. And while you carry out your little experiment, know that inside your body, quiet good things may be underway even before you feel them. Better hydrated kidneys may filter a little more easily. Blood that's a touch less thick may flow a little better and reach every corner. Cells that are well hydrated may respond a bit more readily to insulin. It's like an orchestra that had drifted slightly out of tune, gradually finding its way back into rhythm. And all of it set in motion by something as humble as a glass of water at the right moment. I keep saying it, and I'll say it once more because I don't want to sell you anything false. This is not a miracle, it's simple physiology. It's your own body, which is wonderfully wise, quietly grateful that you've finally given it what it needed all along. And the best part, the part I find genuinely moving, is that this is within reach of absolutely everyone. You don't need to be wealthy. You don't need to live near the finest hospital in the country. A glass, clean water, and a little consistency. That's the whole recipe. Health, in this case, isn't something you buy, it's something you tend. Now, before we finish, I want to spend a serious moment on something we shouldn't skip because it truly matters: the warning signs, the ones worth knowing, not so you'll be frightened, but so you can act at the right time. If they ever appear, because there's a difference between taking gentle care of yourself at home with good habits and ignoring a real signal from your body. If you suddenly develop intense thirst, a thirst that water just won't satisfy no matter how much you drink, and you're urinating far more than usual, especially at night, don't let that pass. If you're losing weight without trying, without any diet, if wounds, especially on your feet, aren't healing or keep getting infected, if your vision blurs suddenly, or if you feel a deep, bone heavy fatigue that isn't your ordinary tiredness, any one of these deserves a visit to your doctor. Not in panic, but without delay either. These aren't signs to be frightened of, they're signs to attend to. And I promise you, the sooner these things are looked at, the easier they are to manage. And I want to tell you about a connection people rarely make, but that matters enormously at our age. Blood sugar and the heart travel together hand in hand. When blood sugar stays high over a long time, it can slowly damage the walls of the blood vessels, the very pipes that carry life through your body. This is why caring for your blood sugar is never only about blood sugar. It's about your heart, your brain, your kidneys, your eyes, your feet. It's about the whole of you all at once. And that's actually the hopeful part, the part I'm genuinely glad to share. Everything we've talked about today, this gentle, intelligent hydration works in favor of the whole system, not just one number. Blood that flows a little better feeds the heart a little better. Kidneys that are well tended clean a little better. It's a kind of care that spreads across the entire body, the way good soil doesn't nourish one plant, but the whole garden. So please don't see today as one more remedy for one narrow problem. See it as a way of treating yourself well every single day. A small act of kindness toward a body that has given you so much across so many years and that is still there quietly fighting for you every morning you wake up. Well, we've been together a good while now, and I don't want to tire you out. But before I say goodbye, let me gather the important things in just a few words so you carry them with you. If you remember only a few ideas from all of this, let them be these. One, thirst becomes an unreliable guide as we age. So don't wait for it. Drink on a gentle schedule, a little at a time. Two, the 4 moments: a glass in the morning before coffee, a small one before meals, sips while you move, and a glass in the evening. Plain water is enough for all of them. Three, watch out for the sugary drinks, and when you can, water before coffee. And four, the most important of all, none of this replaces your doctor. Carry these ideas into your next appointment, especially if you have high blood pressure, kidney, or heart concerns, or take any medication at all. Let your doctor shape it to fit you. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. And if you had to hold on to a single sentence from everything today, let it be this one: your health often turns less on things that are expensive and complicated and far more on small, kind habits done each day with care, exactly the way you have always done the important things in your life. I made this video thinking of each of you because to me, you are not numbers, you are people. And if any of this has been useful to you or to someone you love, I'd be grateful for one small favor asked with real humility. If it's not too much trouble, tap that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps me keep going. And more than that, it helps this reach other older folks who are wandering along just as you were a little while ago, not knowing these simple things. Who knows? Maybe the next person it helps is a neighbor or the parent of a friend. And I'd love it if you feel like it, if you left a comment telling me your experience. If you take on the 14-day challenge, come back in 2 weeks and tell me how it went. I truly love reading from you, and your words encourage other people to try too. Together, we keep each other company and give each other strength, because that's what this is for. Looking after one another. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for staying with me all the way to the end. I know your time is precious, and that you've given it to me is not something I take lightly. Take good care of yourself. Drink your water when it makes sense. And remember always that it is never, ever too late to start being a little kinder to your own body. I wish you, with all my heart, a day full of health. I'll see you very soon.